Thank you. Before we start the official part, this is a very special day. It's the 7th of November. It's the birthday of Marie Curie. She's the only scientist who has 2 Nobel Prizes in different disciplines. She has the Nobel Prize in chemistry and in physics. She is also only one of 4 people who have 2 Nobel Prizes. And her birthday was chosen for the International Day of Medical Physics. This is a little-known holiday, but it is customary if on that day you meet, by chance, a medical physicist, you are supposed to treat them with a little treat or a gift. So keep that in mind. Okay, hello Berlin, are you ready to rock? Good, because I'm petrified. Excellent. So, as Mark said, this is actually my 10th talk. Not my 10th talk this year, but my 10th talk in the 5 years I've been doing that. And it's a special one, because it's in this beautiful city in Berlin, 5th edition of Beyond Tellerrand in Berlin. John is here, who gave me this wonderful opportunity to speak at Reasons, but also the person who invited me for the very first talk is here, Frank Reitberger, who invited me in 2013 to FMX. So this is kind of a special event. And what I've been doing these last 5 years, I've been thinking a lot. I am here as a creative coder, and it's something I do as a hobby, as a personal project. It's not my day job, it's something I do in my spare time. And what I would like to talk about today is creativity, which is a dangerous subject to present to an audience like you. But also the view we have of creativity and its apparent opposite, rationality. We'll discuss that. And it's kind of a refinement of what I've been thinking about the last years. Now, as a creative coder, I cannot use presenting software, so this is actually a piece of code that's running. My medium of choice is Java, started with processing. And one of the advantages is that it allows me to do this, which PowerPoint doesn't do. Now, of course, when you have a deadline for a presentation to make, what you decide to do is, oh, let's make my title slide in a little game. So I want to talk about creativity, about wonder and amazement, and what better way to start this with start. You have to know your own game. With Bruce Lee playing ping pong with mooncakes. And there's a large part of me that looks at this with amazement, with wonder. Part of me says, this is a fellow human being doing this. I am a human being. I would be able to do this if I spend my life doing the same things, which I'm not going to do, but still, potentially, I could do that. Just look at it. And this is, bam. This is a feeling of excitement. It's not the heart, it's not the brain, it's the gut, it's visceral. And this inner child, this large part, which we appropriately call the inner child, is getting very excited about it. But there's also room in here for several adults, and this physicist adult in me, this biomedical engineer, is tapping the inner child on the shoulder and says, listen, an Olympic-level ping pong player spends his entire youth practicing to get some kind of level at ping pong. They spend their life dedicated to it. And they play the game with a plate on a stick. To do this with only the stick would require dedication even longer, even more. To do it with a swinging stick would be just plain impossible. This is not real. And that's always the case. It's always this rational adult spoiling the fun of the inner child, taking this excitement away. Why wouldn't this be true? Why can't this be real? Of course it's an ad. This was a viral campaign, or at least a campaign that went viral, in 2008 by J. Walter Thompson. And their Beijing office got the assignment to launch the Nokia N96 Bruce Lee Special Edition. So they commissioned this footage. And it's not real, it's very well documented. We know the actor, we know the special effects, we know who the people behind it were. And the internet is a bit of a hot mess right now, so it's not sane advice to ask you to check out a comment thread on YouTube. But that's actually what I'm going to do. The video itself is not longer hosted by J. Walter Thompson, but of course, this being the internet, some random guy hosts this. Years ago, he put this on YouTube. The entire thing, including the shouty. So, there's no doubt that this is a commercial. Thing is, this comment thread is a wonderful thing to behold. It is a microcosm of the entire environment we are in online. This guy hosts this, got 25 million views over years. 10,000 and more comments. Comments coming in still every day. And these comments really reflect what we encounter every day, with the added advantage, it's about Bruce Lee playing ping pong. It's not about the basic right of existence of our fellow human beings, which is nice. And one of the comments is what you expect, or one of the threads you get is, all the people here who believe this are stupid, and you have to misbuild beliefs. And then he explains, like it was explained 4,000 before, that it's not real, it's an actor, it's CGI. Fact. Okay. Yeah, that's true. It's not very endearing, but... So we already have one side in the discussion. And then we have an interesting other side, which is only a few weeks old. That says, my common sense says this is real. It's not the video it's not the ad, the video that's fake. It's the advertising campaign story that is fake. Because what Bruce Lee did, what we sheep are not allowed to know, is that he unlocked the highest level of his physical chakra. And they want to hide this from us. And by the way, how can it be fake? It's film. You can't see where it has been cut and pasted. You don't see it. And even if it is fake, it's my reality, and I choose to believe it, and it's your reality, it's not real, but it doesn't matter. And a minority thread of comments says, listen, it's fake, but it's fun. Isn't that all that matters? But there's very little voice in this 10,000 thread comments. And what I find fascinating about this, when I had this idea a few weeks ago to use this, is the threads you get in there, the parallels you have about this very innocuous subject, this very clear-cut case. There is really no doubt what is going on. But you should be careful. Don't go into that thread and say it's fake, although it has been said 4,000 times. 4 months ago, this thing is 10 years old, somebody decides to say it's fake. Then 3 months later, somebody reads this and decides, wait a minute, fuck off, loser. 1 week after that, yeah, you're wrong, ass. Friendly people. Hope his spirits come back and kicks your ass. And when I made this is last week, somebody the day before had the ultimate comment, like, fake, 2008, why is it black and white? Aha! Okay. So, and it goes on like this. How do you know it's not real? You never saw Bruce Lee in real life. How old are you? Okay, yeah, excellent. These people are not arguing with me, fortunately. This is real because in the 1960s, they didn't have special effects. They couldn't make this trick. Or, and these are really endearing people, the people who want to mediate. Say, yeah, it could be fake, because in 1973, Bruce Lee died. Nokia didn't make cell phones there, so maybe it was a commercial, maybe it was by Nokia, but it's definitely one for a cell phone. That's kind of missing the point, isn't it? And here, what amazes me is how we stick with our stories and how we are willing to invent stuff. Then you have a physicist coming in, not me. He's coming, say, you can't give topspin to a ping pong ball with a nunchuk. You need a rubber padding surface like a ping pong pad for that. And then there's an answer, yeah, but you carefully at the video, you see that there is rubber padding. These are special nunchucks. So we make it up as we go along. And we stick to our story. And this fascinates me. Because I'm a bit in both worlds. My day job is medical physicist. Remember? So, and that means that I work together with a team of specialist doctors called radiation oncologists, with nurses, with technologists, and we treat people with cancer. And what happens is that the doctor makes a prescription like he would prescribe a drug. He asks for a certain dose, or she asks for a certain dose on an organ. And then it's our task as a physicist to make the calculations, to calibrate the machines, to make a kind of movement, a kind of dance of the machine around the patient, that then the nursing staff and the technologists over 1 to 8 weeks will very carefully administer for this patient and care for this patient. And I consider this job to be on the sciencey side. And patients are happy about to hear that. Because even in this room full of creatives, if you have given the choice between door A, a surgeon who's being described as experienced, very well known in her area, and in door B, you have a creative surgeon, very little people will choose door B, which is odd, because surely creativity is a good thing. But on the other hand, I'm this creative coder. I make stuff for fun. Of course, creativity isn't all about fun. Creativity has a very important purpose, which has been highlighted in several talks here. But for me, it's something I need, I have to do. If you ever have seen The Shining, creative coding is my typewriter. I need this. And it's kind of the story of the creative brain. And since you are sitting on tables on my stage, you are participating. What is the opposite of creative? What is the opposite of creativity? Destructive. Creation, creativity as the act of creation, the real Holy Trinity, creation maintaining destruction. Not the answer I was looking for, but thank you. Anything else? Boring. That's actually a decent answer. That's a good answer. And if we are talking about the brain, we mostly talk about, what are you saying? Rationality. Yeah, indeed. That's an answer you hear a lot. The creative brain and the rational brain. But those are not opposites. Those are not things you weigh against each other, because they are separate axes. They determine an entire domain. You can have irrational creativity. You can have the tormented artist throwing their soul onto a canvas, often self-destructively, to show this, to stab the world with their art. Of course, you can have creativity without this self-destruction. Otherwise, advertising business would be tough. So you can have the rational creativity, where you design something with a certain goal and still to have this flexibility to create something beautiful. But rationality also has its creativity, the entirety of science, trying to find solutions using very dry methods. This is creative rationality. But you also have the irrational non-creative things, like the Kafkaean bureaucracy. It makes no sense, and it doesn't even have any kind of joy, of any kind of inner beauty. So these are different axes. But still, often, we think along those lines. Also with the surgeon. The creative surgeon immediately associates something with, wait, creative surgeon? Why don't you describe him as professional or experienced? These things are not exclusive, but still we make that link. And I think that is fascinating. And I explore this with an extended metaphor, unweaving the rainbow. And it's about the rainbow. And if I ask people, what is a rainbow? It's this thing. So an image search, safe search, on GoGoDuck gives me these rainbows. Non-safe search gives you a lot more ponies and unicorns. But still, it's this beautiful arc of 7 discrete colors. Some of these images are real, some of them are fake. I mean, the photographs, of course. But that's what we're talking about. And the term unweaving the rainbow is quite a familiar one, and it has been used by Richard Dawkins in his book about unweaving the rainbow, which can be a good thing or a bad thing, however you think about it. And it's found its foundation in part of an epic poem that the romantic Keats wrote in the 19th century. And it has this fragment. Do not all charms fly at the mere touch of cold philosophy, natural philosophy, science? There was an awful rainbow once in heaven. Awful, full of awe. Words change. We know her woof, small dog. Her texture, she is given in the dull catalogue of common things. We have taken this rainbow from heaven, these beautiful things, and we've just put it in a dusty book. Philosophy will clip an angel's wings, conquer all mysteries by rule and line, empty the haunted air and gnomed mind, unweave a rainbow, that's where the phrase is coming from, as it well made the tender person, Lamia, melt into a shade. So what he's basically saying, look, we had these spirits filling the air, we had gnomes in the minds, we had this tender person, Lamia, a Greek demon-like creature, half woman, half snake, that purposely eats children, but okay, wandering our fields. And science is taking this away. And maybe he has a point there, because what he is reacting to is this. He is reacting to this very rational rainbow, the prism. He's reacting to Isaac Newton, 150 years before. Romantic poets are a bit late, but still. He was reacting to this image. Actually, it was not Newton who did this. It was a guy called Francesco Grimaldi, who showed that if you shine white light into a prism of quartz or flint glass, you get these colors. But he wasn't interested in the colors. Grimaldi was interested in the fact that the light bended. It diffracted. It was a phenomenon that was known from waves. If a wave hits an obstacle, or when it's going from a deep end of the sea to a shallow end of the sea, the speed changes and it bends. And it fitted that current view of the world that light would behave as a wave. So he was very happy with this discovery, because although the science is mathematical equations that allow you to predict things, the stories we tell about it, the interpretations, are very, very human. And this fitted their story. And in 1665, Grimaldi's book was published after his death. I mean, that often happened in that time, because even in that time, people were too busy to update their blog, so things were published after their death. And in 1666, Newton was a student. He was a student, he just finished his BA at the University of Cambridge, and he had a lot of free time because the University of Cambridge was closed in 1666 and part of 67 because of an outbreak of the plague. Things happened. So he was at home. And during that year, 1666, the annus mirabilis, the Echibam, the wondrous year of Newton, he laid the foundation of optics, of gravity, of calculus, because he didn't have to go to work and he didn't have to school. So there might be a lesson learned there. But still, and the reason that Newton looked into this is because he didn't like wave theory of light, because he was more of an alchemist set of mind, which was very respectable in those days. He wanted light to be a substance, a particle, something physical, something that interacts just like other things interact with each other. And he saw an opportunity to get his ideas through these colors, because what he saw is these colors, which Grimaldi explains as corruption of the glass, which is a beautiful term saying that this light was modified by the glass. For Newton, it was, what if I can prove that these colors are really part of the light? Then this is not a wave, these are particles, because those you can sort. So he took a second prism, he recombined the colors into white light, and showed conclusively that it's part of the light, it's not corruption of the glass. And he was very happy about this. And when you have seen this in school, you got optics, which is a branch of physics we love to teach because it doesn't require calculus, it just requires these annoying geometric things like sines and cosines. And it starts with light, and then you see reflection, nice chapter about reflection and mirrors, and then you have a chapter about refraction and lenses, and then at the end of the chapter you have something called dispersion, which shows you that you have this chromatic aberration, and then there's a little box in your handbook which says, and this thing in rain makes the rainbow. Voila, we have a rainbow. So maybe, oh, whoa. Keats has a point that we are changing this amazement,
my God!
somewhat chemically enhanced amazement, and we turn it into
Here's a very
this.
classic
Oh,
problem
this is
when
going
we
to
deal
bring
with
fond
Snell's
memories.
law and index of refraction. And so we use Snell's law. We say n1 sine of theta 1 equals n2 sine of theta 2. And so what we're trying to find here, of course, the coefficient, what I did was I turned the equation around, take the n2, put it down, the beam will travel in this direction. All right, that's important to know.
Exactly.
Sine of theta sub 3 divided by n sub 4. All we have to do is plug in the numbers and we can find out what that fourth angle is. 5.6 degrees below the horizontal as it moves out of the side of the prism. Here's a very classic problem.
A very classic problem. So, yeah, maybe he has a point that we kind of take away the wah and turn it into this beautiful presentation of Michel van Biesen. And I'm really not doing him a favor by presenting him like this. He has hours of YouTube videos where he does this very intricate physics exercises, which can be very helpful for the people who have to bother with them. So, but this is what we are talking about. This is the garden of the Dutch creative coder, Mr. Job. Rainbow in 2014, taken especially for reasons 2014, this image. I've been using it ever since. And yes, we have a rainbow. And yeah, science destroys it by making it this. But that got me thinking, because that's also my first response. It's like, yeah, it's a point, but is science doing that? Is science really saying that this is the rainbow? Because let's look at it. It gives me the colors, here stylistically represented, of course, but it doesn't give me a lot of other things. Does it give me the shape of the rainbow? If a rainbow is this in raindrops, why isn't the entire sky lighting up? Why is it this arc? Are these raindrops hanging there in kind of arc? No, it's not happening. So it's not explaining the shape. It's not explaining how it appears, how big it is, how I see it. Why can't I reach the rainbow, but why can't I grab the prism? That's a big difference. And it's not even incomplete, it's also completely wrong. Because what is seeing? Seeing is light hitting your eyes. It's obvious to us that, but like for example, Plato in 400 before Christ, he believed that seeing was eye beams. Our eyes were emitting beams, and that was actually seeing stuff. But we know that seeing, sensing stuff, is receiving energy. So to see something, the light has to hit our eye. And to see this, I have to stare straight into the light. Now, table. If you're looking at the rainbow is in front of you. Where's the sun? At your back, behind you. You are not staring into the sun. If you stare into the sun, you will eventually see rainbows and everything else. But that's not how it works. So it's even completely wrong, this picture. This cannot explain the rainbow. Because for a rainbow, the light has to come back. No light is coming back here. If you would do this in a raindrop, you make a little drop of water, you shine in the light, no colors appear. Okay, some light is coming back, but I don't have a rainbow. And you have to work on. So you've been given this prism, you're leaving school with this idea, and it doesn't work. If you look closer at it, it doesn't make sense. So what you could do is say, science is a conspiracy. Because I have been taught that this is the rainbow, but obviously they are missing this fact that it's pointing the wrong way. Ha-ha, I am smarter than all of you. The rainbow isn't real. But it kind of is. And you can go on, and you can take the little raindrop and say, okay, but this is not a little beam of light going into a drop. This is a drop being completely illuminated. And so if you would do this, if you would code this, which is what I did a few years ago, you get this light going forward, you get this nice caustics. Problem is our eyes, our senses are extremely sensitive to orders of magnitude, while a screen only has a linear scale, so you can't really show it. So I have to exaggerate some of the intensities. And you have the light bouncing around, and suddenly you see, wait a minute, there's some light coming back from that raindrop, going up, going down. This is 2D, but if you take this indicated axis of symmetry and you rotate around, you see that you have like these cones of colored light. Each little raindrop is giving me these sheets of light emitting. So, okay, wait, a cone, an arc, maybe there's some kind of connection. But still, every little raindrop is doing this. So what you then do is, okay, I'm a little observer, I have a bit of sun, let's make a cloud, and let's see for every little raindrop, what part of that light it's emitting is hitting my eye. What am I as an observer seeing? And this is what we are seeing. We are getting a rainbow. We are getting the shape of the rainbow. We are getting, without having to do much effort, we are getting how the rainbow evolves when the sun is rising. High sun, tiny, tiny rainbow. When it's in the summer and the sun is high, it's impossible to see a rainbow like this. There are no rainbows at noon where we live. When is the rainbow the biggest? Early in the morning or in the evening at dusk. So yes, I got my 7 colors, which is of course already a simplification. There's more than 7 colors. But I see so much more in this. I see this bright area underneath my rainbow. I see this dark area where no light is coming back. And then at the end of this dark area, there's a second rainbow. But the colors are opposites. And in fact, you could say that the rainbow isn't this band of 7 colors we have been shown. The rainbow is black, and it has 2 colored fringes. That is a rainbow. And you say, okay, it's a rainbow. Nothing is going to happen when I mistake a rainbow for a prism. I'm not going to build a rainbow observatory and point it the wrong way around because I'm using this prism. That's true. But when I investigated, what struck me is the second rainbow. Because I was never taught, and I have, bear with me, studied 10 years of physics. Every year just once. And they never explained to me what a rainbow is. My explanation of the rainbow was the prism I got when I was 16 years old, not in anything else. Some people probably have been taught, specialized in this area, know what it is. But what struck me is once I investigated this, every single rainbow has this second rainbow. It's weak, but you always, almost always, see it. So next time you see a rainbow, and you just look beyond the rainbow, like in this picture, you will see parts of the second rainbow. The second rainbow, when it's very, very bright, that got people twittering or Instagramming. But it's just a normal part of the rainbow. And the thing is, the story we have been using, the little box we put it in, to give to our most important people in the world, the people coming after us, the people we are educating, is leaving that part out. And we don't see it. So the stories we use to make things simpler also hide things. And I think that's a very potent metaphor for a lot of the things we are studying. Because yes, you are right, the rainbow in itself doesn't matter. But we are doing it in every science. We are doing it in biology, where with absolute 100% certainty, you have been taught by an authority that you have one pair of genes, XX, XY, that determine your biological sex, binary. And then it's built on that you have binary sex, you have binary gender, you have binary roles in society. Each of these steps is a story that serves to fit a certain worldview. But even the very basic thing, the biological sex, which currently is still, I think, daily thrown into Twitter as a kind of motivation of our own bigotry towards people, is completely wrong. And it's not that we have discovered last year or 10 years ago that it's wrong. No, the fact that this is an oversimplification has always been part of biology. Biologists know this. They know that there are mushrooms out there with 54 genes deciding a continuum. But also in humans there is an entire range. But still we have been taught this very binary picture, and it is influencing the very way we are thinking. That's biology. But what about economics, politics, social sciences, history, geography? Everything we have been taught, everything that you have not personally specialized in, is being given to you as a little prism, a little fact that is somewhat real, that is necessary to get grasp of reality, but you have left school with this huge bag of prisms and not a single rainbow among them. And what I personally believe, we're failing at is giving the people the tools to go from their own bag of prisms to these rainbows. And that is actually the metaphor I wanted to present here. I want to comment a bit on the dull catalogue that Keats also says. She is written in the dull catalogue of common things. There's nothing exciting anymore about this rainbow now that we have explained it by the prism. It's dusty, it's boring. The dull parts, if you think about it, is weird. Because for some reason, we need Bruce Lee to play ping pong with nunchucks to get excited. But why? I am 100 kilos of organic mass and all kinds of shapes, making vibrations in the air, noises, to 500 other bags of organic matter, meant in the best way possible. And how can we not be struck by awe by that mere fact? Why don't we wake up in the morning and say, I'm alive, I exist, how incredible is this? I personally like this little piece. It's something I do. You find a source, a very dry source of material, in this case, a Japanese initiative just collected tissue models, 3D models of organs, and then you make little games. What if I only take a man, because it's a Japanese man, and I only use 1/5 of his parts? Turns out it's not pretty. Anyway. But, and this catalog thing, this is kind of the image we have of science. This is behind the scenes in the Natural History Museum of New York. Science is very good at putting everything in boxes. And I'm saying science, and actually we humans are incredibly good at putting things in boxes, little labels, little jars with weirdly smelling fluids and things that once represented beauty, but that now like ghosts of what they were. And we have shelves and shelves of those things. And you can't feel, but this is really taking away from reality. This is not what's there. But isn't it strange that we humans even hold this idea that this is possible? Has anybody here in the kitchen ever tried to sort their drawer of cutlery? Spoons, forks, little spoons, knives. Nicely sorted area. Assorted stuff. Other things, a huge drawer of I don't know what, but it's all thing useful. Have you ever tried to sort your book collection, your music collection? You're always left up with the weird stuff. That doesn't fit. It's like, this album, it's both electro and it's jazz. Well, let's make a box electro jazz, and it's on its own. And with books, you could say, okay, let's make it easy. Let's sort by color, which means two things. One, you don't buy any brown books, apparently. And two, you're a monster. Still, so it's weird because our daily experience tells us that we cannot sort this world, and still we insist on doing it. And I made a bit of a joke that Keats was 150 years late in responding to Newton, but we have abandoned in science the clockwork universe of the 19th century of steam and electricity. We know it doesn't work, it doesn't fit this idea that everything is nicely ordered, predetermined, it behaves like clockwork. You know what it was yesterday, you know what it is today, you will know eventually what it is tomorrow. That doesn't work. But still, we lag behind in popular science and our idea of science. So maybe it's time to tackle that. Maybe it's time to start thinking differently. And that is exactly what is happening. And if you are looking at the subjects of the creative talks here, you are noticing that you are not tackling anymore, how do I get somebody to push a button in the right way? No, you're also tackling, what is this process? You're not talking about putting a button. It's a user experience. It's user interaction. It's like, if we put it this way, the side effect is that humans will take this answer from Siri for absolute truth, the opening talk. So we have to put it differently. So even that, there's a new way of thinking. It's not longer about the state, about the single object. It's a process. It's a dynamic thing. And for me, very personally, that is the reason why I do creative coding. Because where Keats is saying, conquering all mysteries by rule and line, I say exploring the mysteries by rule and line, because that describes excellently what we are doing with our coding and creative coding. It's actually explaining what you are trying to achieve with your creative work. And that is also something that we should try to pass on to a way of thinking to enhance our education. And I'm not saying that making silly stuff like this is helping that particular goal, but I am a big fan of the Learn to Code initiatives for children. Why? Not because later they will be incredibly wealthy by writing JavaScript, but because that helps them to learn to think. It gives them the computational, the analytical tools to take their own bag of prisms, which we do have to give them, because we know from the story of Bruce Lee, if we don't give the people the prisms, they will invent their own. And we are very ingenious in inventing our own stories. But we need to pass on the tools. We need this new way of thinking. And this is slowly creeping into our thoughts. So we are only 120 years late, because 2 blocks away from here, there's the building where the German television studio, the ARD, is now situated. That used to be the German Physical Society, where in October 1900, Max Planck gave a lecture about black body radiation, where he solved a problem that could not be solved classically, where he laid the foundation of quantum physics. The thing that said to Grimaldi, no, light is not a wave. The thing that said to Isaac Newton, sorry, light is not a particle. It is what it is. And we happen to put it in a mathematical corset, that's sometimes a wave of a particle. That way of thinking was introduced 120 years ago, and it's now slowly creeping into our society, and I think it's going to be incredibly helpful for us. So I'm going to let this finish, and then I'm going to finish my talk. Thank you for listening to the ramblings of a medical physicist.
Big.
This big screen, don't worry about it. This is for me.
And you say that's just your hobby, right?
Yeah. So this is like the output of the last 3 years, I guess, more or less. Thank you very much.